Welcome to the regular council meeting for Monday, December 8th. I would like to start by recognizing that we are gathering and governing on the unceded traditional territory of what is now known as the Comox Nation, and we are always grateful for their grace and collaboration as we do this good work on their land. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Move the agenda.
Oh, thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, that's carried. I will just mention that Councillor Barecki is away due to a death in the family, and we are all sending him best wishes. There are minutes there to adopt. Village Hall Budget and Financial Plan Meeting, Committee of the Whole for November 24th, and regular council meeting November 24th.
Move the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? That is carried unanimously as well. And unfinished business, proposed regional growth strategy minor amendment. We heard from the regional district last meeting, which was not a year ago, it was merely weeks ago. And there's a recommendation there. If there are no questions or follow-up.
I'll move that council receive and file the correspondence from the Comox Valley Regional District regarding the Comox Valley minor amendment process.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried too. And next up is Comox Valley Farmers Market. Staff have brought us two recommendations from their delegation also last meeting. Do we wish to discuss? Yes.
I've just got one question. We collect a rental fee, is that right, on those, on the Village Park for this?
Yes, and I understand that there was a time, nobody's there to correct me.
I'm here just
Michelle
in
can
case.
correct me.
I do have speaking notes. I don't.
As I understand it, the nonprofit fee was much lower in the past, and we have moved to try and recover those costs. And so now there is a fee of just over $1,000 a year, I think.
It's $50.
$50 per market.
Or $55 a day, and it'll be $60 a day in 2026. So then it would be per market. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the $600 would basically waive that fee.
That's correct. That's why we thought they had mentioned that they were going to reduce them down to about 10 markets. So then we thought, okay, $60, and it's probably your most staff efficient way of doing it is what we were thinking. You could just give it to them and then they could pay it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, short-term.
Okay.
Short-term support.
Yeah, as the market tries to get back on its feet and recover from what's happening up in Campbell River, the competition there. I'm in favor of doing this on a one-time basis here and see how it goes.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Well, I'm fully supportive of a market, and it supports our food security objectives and the work we've been doing. And I understand that, yeah, it's a challenge this coming year, and it was very difficult towards the end of this year's season for them to maintain viability. We do have a granting program, and that is how we usually allocate our support for community groups. And this is outside of that granting program. The market were a recipient for a particular program, weren't they, in our last granting program as well? So, I'm a bit torn. It's a small dollar amount in the grand scheme of things, and if it's the will of others, I think very much one time, and it's on the market to, if this is the little straw that allows them to continue and to prove their continued viability, then okay. But I just want to make sure it is that one time.
There is a caveat in our grant program that doesn't allow non-new events to apply.
Or operation fund,
Yes.
fundings for
So,
operations.
Thank you for a reminder. Yes.
Yeah.
Can I also remind you, it's I think a $2,000 minimum for that funding as well. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm
there's a recommendation there.
happy to
thanks.
move that we provide a one-time grant to the Comox Valley Farmers Market Association of $600 excuse me, in support of 2026 Cumberland market expenses to be funded through the host community amenity reserve, and that council direct staff to bring forward an amendment to the adopted 2026-2030 financial plan bylaw to reflect this expenditure.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? And thank you. That's carried unanimously. Next up is the Penrith Avenue Road improvements design. And I think we may turn down the lights because there's a presentation. So those of you in the audience, don't be afraid. It's going to get dark for a sec. Thanks. Go ahead, Joel.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. So I'm just here to do just a brief introductory report before I pass it over to Mike Elliott and Corey Mudge from ISL Engineering, and they'll walk us through the utility roads and upgrades for Penrith. But as you may recall, so this project has been quite extensive. It's been going on for quite a while now. So back in July, we had a engagement event. Originally, the project was only for the first and third blocks of Penrith. Through that engagement event, it was determined that we should be expanding this to include all the blocks between 1st and 4th Street, so that's what we've done. It was also determined through that event and that engagement that staff should explore the option of a one-way street concept to see if that works, and so that's what we've done. You'll see the, the workings of that being presented here today. Another thing that came about through that, in September, Council asked to make sure that staff engage that one missing block. So I'm here to tell you today that notices have been delivered as of last Friday for those members on that block. We have all the drawing and information on the Engage Comox Valley webpage, so that's been reactivated. There's been social media posts that went out or was scheduled to go out today. Same with our webpage, it's been updated. So access to all the information as to why and how things will change have now been made available for everybody to provide feedback for us. So we have tentatively aimed for February of next year, early February of next year as the tendering date. So that gives us approximately 8.5 weeks from now until then to get feedback and sort of tweak things in a minor way if we need to, and to hear from that one remaining block. So that gives us enough time to, get some decent feedback and really explore opportunities and hear from the community, from those that weren't included in the first round of engagement. So I just wanted to make that point clear before it gets turned over. So thank you for that. At this point in time, I'll turn it over to Mike and Corey, and they can go ahead and walk us through what we're hoping to do.
Thank you. Come on up.
I'm Mike Elliott. I'm the Mid-Island lead out in Nanaimo.
If you can just get as close as you can to the mic, there are people at home, hundreds of them, watching this live.
Okay.
No pressure. I think you're all here in the audience.
I'm Mike Elliott. I'm Mid-Island lead. I'm out of the Nanaimo office, and this is my colleague.
I'm Corey Mudge with ISL. I'm actually live here in Cumberland, and I'm a senior design technologist.
We'd like to respectfully acknowledge that the village of Cumberland is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Comox First Nation. We honor their deep connection to the land, waters, and culture, and we express our gratitude for the opportunity to live and work on these lands. So where we started with this, we developed some preliminary concepts with village staff in 2024, and then village staff requested that we move towards an engagement process. We posted an online survey starting in July and ending in August. We held a public information session on July 15th, which we had about 30 people. It was very well attended. And we focused on two concepts to determine people's priorities.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So going back, when we kind of first kicked this off, we were going back and forth with staff on a number of different options and kind of aspects of the design that could be implemented, and we wanted to really drill into kind of what pieces were the most important to the people that live there, as well as the village as a whole, and the direction that they're going and the way we're kind of looking to go. So we basically, for our public engagement session, developed two separate concepts that really kind of encaptured a bunch of different pieces that could be used, with the intent that through that public engagement we kind of expose staff as well as the local residents to what the options were, is almost like a bit of a grab bag. It's like that, something that, like a menu that we could pick things from and then develop like our ultimate final concept from. So the ones that we actually brought to the public engagement session in July, the first concept was an advisory lane. This concept is widely used in bigger cities for the most part, but we've also done it down in Victoria, and we've done it in Nanaimo as well. And really what the concept focuses on is traffic control and kind of trying to slow traffic down by effectively pinching everyone in with cars into one lane and having outside lanes for bikes. And so if you actually have oncoming traffic coming at each other, they have to slow down, wait for it to be clear of bikes, and then they go around each other and carry on. When we presented this to everyone at the public engagement session, a lot of what we heard was that they didn't really feel like the bike infrastructure was necessary on Penrith because we already have it on Dunsmuir. And another big piece is they wanted more green space, and they wanted to really focus on kind of traffic calming and slowing things down because it's a local neighborhood. And the big takeaway from this one that we really kind of latched onto is, as soon as the paint starts wearing, what we have is kind of what we already have on Second and some of these other streets, where it's just a big sea of asphalt with sidewalks on the edges. Once you lose the paint, you kind of lose the intent and the kind of control over what's happening there. So the other concept that we considered and presented was still a two-way road, but with sidewalks on either side, a bit of a boulevard on the north side, and then diagonal parking on the south side. And this was really to try and maximize the amount of parking that we could get on the street, but also keep those elements of kind of accessibility with the wider sidewalks on both sides of the road, so that people could get in and out of their houses even if they had disabilities or mobility issues, and could get onto the sidewalks and throughout town without having to use a vehicle or walk on the street. The big pushback we heard on this one were a lot of people that were on the north side of the road were concerned that they wouldn't have access to parking immediately in front of their house. So there were people that had children or had those mobility issues that didn't want to have to cross the street from their car to get their groceries or anything like that into their house. So we actually also had a monitor going with a bunch of different other options that were kind of scrolling through that people were talking to. And one of the options that we showed on that was actually a one-way street. And I'll be honest, I was a little surprised, but we had really, really positive feedback from everyone that attended. They really liked this idea and this option. The big drawback was kind of going back to what I mentioned in the last one, is people still didn't like the idea of there only being the parking on the south side of the road as we showed in the video. So this one also in the video had the cycle track shown on the north side, but really what we kind of discussed with the residents that were there is that you could think of that almost more as a flex space. Like we could really do anything there. It doesn't have to be a cycle track. And what we were really hearing from everyone is that they'd like us to maximize the green space. They wanted more street trees, they wanted more grass, they wanted to really make that kind of a neighborhood feel where kids could play outside and they could meet outside and have that space that they could enjoy. So this is a little bit of a rundown on the actual event itself. We had 127 responses between online and in person. We counted over 30 people that actually attended on the day, even though it was actually a blistering hot day. We tried to have popsicles and they all melted, so everyone was drinking popsicles by the end. And it was presented to council back in September 15th. So this is a little bit of a rundown of some of the things I've already mentioned, but this is really the pieces that we heard loud and clear from the people that attended and the responses online of really what those priorities were. And part that stood out, and I think a lot of the people that are maybe attending today between that third and fourth block, the original intent was for us to go from first to third, and so that's where those two concepts had two-way streets, and that kind of allowed us to do a first to third segment with third to fourth happening in the future. Once we were kind of pushed in the direction of a one-way, that really, just from an operational standpoint, made it so that last block had to be included so that you could actually travel all the way through without having to detour around to get onto it. So the pieces that were really important, as mentioned before, we're slowing down traffic, really getting those traffic calming elements in, formalizing parking on both sides of the road, maximizing the green space, and just really kind of making this a neighborhood feel. They wanted it to not feel like it was a commercial space. They wanted it to not feel like there was going to be fast moving traffic and issues where they had to worry about their kids. They wanted us to restrict traffic as much as we could and make it like a really comfortable place. So what that brought us around to was our current design, which takes elements of all three. We removed any of the cycling infrastructure, as we heard that they wanted to keep that on the adjacent road. We tried to maximize green space. We implemented that one-way concept while having parallel parking on both sides, which allowed us to have the narrower lane, which will further pinch traffic, slow things down, but allow people to have parking in front of their house on both sides of the street, and give us the ability to have those nice wide sidewalks and have that accessibility for everyone. So between first and second, you can see we've basically gone through and we've established which houses currently have driveways and parking within their property, and we've grandfathered in any of those driveways and garages, and then we've tried to maximize the amount of street parking that we could get in between. So that results in about 23 on-street stalls for first to second with 5 driveway accesses. One thing I'll point out with this is that the 23 stalls, that's probably conservative. We don't really intend on painting the stall markers. It's just something that has to be maintained in the future, which isn't really necessary. And generally speaking, those stalls are shown as at least 6 meters wide, which is a very large parking stall. You could probably get more cars in there, depending on how comfortable people get with parallel parking, than what we've shown, but that would be what we would consider the absolute minimum, would be 23 on that street. The next block, second to third, same setup. There's an extra driveway. We've got six existing driveways on that one. And so we end up with about 20 stalls as a result of those driveways. And then the last block that was added on so that we could get that one-way movement is third to fourth. We've got basically a count of 3 existing lots that have existing driveways and infrastructure on the private side of the lot, and that results in 25 on-street stalls as a minimum. So that is kind of where we got to with those, and we figured the next steps would be to obtain council direction on how you guys would like us to proceed. And if the direction is to proceed, then we'll continue with finalizing the design in Q1 and getting this thing out to tender.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for the description and the outline of the engagement process. Council, do you have questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I really like how you've listened to just all the ideas and kind of smashed them in together. It's going to be, Cumberland looking towards the future for sure. The existing driveways have been grandfathered in. If people would like to put a driveway before that, is there like a time limit? What's up with that kind of concept? If people would, yeah.
I would ask that if anybody has an intention for constructing a driveway between now and February, to let it be known as soon as possible so that we can work with them. But
So you're
yeah,
not
that's
digging it
kind of
up?
what the next few
Yeah.
weeks are for, is engaging with residents to make sure that things are in order before we kick off.
Fantastic, thank you.
I add to that, even just taking a look at the design, the way we have it to maximize that green space, the sidewalks are quite close to the property lines. And so some of those lots, it's gonna be difficult for them to actually get
Yeah, yeah.
an area to park a car that isn't blocking the sidewalk.
Okay.
So it's gonna be kind of a lot by lot case whether they have the space to get a car behind that sidewalk.
Okay.
But certainly, yeah, if there's an ability to do it, we're more than happy to accommodate.
Yep, fantastic, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I've got quite a few, but perhaps we'll split up because I'm sure there may be overlap. Firstly, a quick point. I noted you're talking about angled parking on 2nd Street to make up, provide more for some of the businesses and some of the guest spaces. Is that correct? And how far down 2nd do you expect that to extend?
So we included that as an option. Right now, it's not in the scope of work, but it is something that we could potentially explore next year. That would be like an operational change that we'd have to undertake, but there is potential to sort of retrofit the blocks between Penrith and Derwent with road markings to, change it to an angled parking concept and help formalize and increase the potential parking on those 2 blocks.
Yeah,
But currently, that's not included in the scope of work, but it is something that we could explore next year for sure.
Okay, I had my business on that space, on that exactly that block for many years, and I was always super supportive of angled parking. It just seemed obvious and cheap with paint. So, thank you for at least considering that. I'll also ask about the green spaces, maintenance of those. Do they need to include irrigation? How difficult, time-consuming, mowing expense? How do we foresee that going?
So right now, boulevard maintenance, depending on what it is, if it's a grass boulevard, it is part of the expectation of the homeowner to maintain. But if there are going to be street trees and irrigation, then that is something that we can sort of pre-service. So like running conduit so that we can retrofit it in the future if we do end up installing irrigation systems. But yeah, so it's everything that we're proposing has the potential to essentially future-proof. Yeah.
I've got more, but did one?
Yep. I like a lot of the design. I especially like the flow-through sidewalks going north-south. Those are going to be like
Raised.
2-meter speed bumps, aren't they? Yep. So that's great. My big concern is as we move to an EV car society, and that's slowly but surely happening, how are people going to plug in their cars?
So currently, they would, assuming that they have a cord far enough to reach the potential parking area, it would be as they currently, do that. We don't have a bylaw speaking to on-street EV charging, so there's no real enforcement we can do. If it doesn't create a potential safety hazard through tripping or falls, then
Well, it will, because it's going to go right across the sidewalk.
so go ahead.
You can get modular cable protectors, and they sit about that high. You run your cable underneath and just put it down so that wheelchairs and stuff can go over it.
Okay.
And that would slow them down too.
Can I just jump
Sorry.
in? Because currently, 1st to 3rd already has sidewalks that they have to get across, right?
Yep.
Like if they were, okay, I just wanted
Yeah,
to.
okay. And then just looking at the audience that we've got here today on this, how set in stone are these designs? How much flex are we going to have in if we decide that yes, we do want to go ahead and get this project on the go? Because there's pipes that need to be fixed, and I don't want to unduly delay this project. But I also want to give the residents, especially from 4th to 3rd, that haven't really had a full chance to engage with this. How long have we got, and how much leeway have we got to redesign between now and then.
I think a piece that we have to consider, like we're obviously open to anything.
Can you use the mic, Corey?
For the people at home.
Thanks.
Of course, for the people at home.
People at home.
We're open to kind of working with anything we can, but we do want to make sure that we have really a cohesive design that goes across all 3 blocks. And we extensively engaged those first 2 blocks, and that the design is really kind of born out of that engagement that we got from them. So we're open to working with what we can, but we are a little bit constrained without kind of chucking the design out and starting over.
Thank you.
Thanks.
With that said, it's pretty easy to move sidewalk and parking stalls around a bit if we have to make accommodations for people's access and that kind of stuff. Like, we do that all the time. So while we want to keep consistency, at the same time, we want to work with everybody here to make sure that, you know, they're going to be able to service their property properly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to jump in, and the downtown core, well, the part of Cumberland that was built pre-car era is very challenging to upgrade because of the design and the width of the road. And so I think you guys have done a very good job of working with the community and the initial engagement to sort of hear from how they're using that space and what the neighborhood wants. And it will be a big change for people. And also just noting that we live in a community where many of us depend on-street parking, but that is actually public property. And the village is not required to provide parking for homeowners. That's the homeowner's responsibility. And I know that because there's no parking on my street either. And I have an EV that I have to plug in, and we had to rearrange our landscaping in order to make that happen. So there will be potential impacts, and I appreciate that you are still willing to hear from that last block that didn't get the fulsome engagement, to try and work around their concerns. And we have until February to do that. So, yeah. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. And thank you for asking the EV question. That was one of mine as well. If I may follow up. The cable across the sidewalk with cable protector, is that a frequent solution, and do municipalities typically accept that as a safe option?
Do you have experience in this?
The short answer is nobody has come up with a good solution yet, and it's hard when you're looking at that interface between private property and public property. Cable solution is pretty simplistic, and it probably will get us through for the next while if that's the way we decide to go. The other way to do it is to just say no charging across there, and I don't know that that's necessarily a path anyone wants to go down.
No, I mean, it's an unfortunate compromise on, providing EV charging for those that don't have private parking is a problem worldwide. And I'm well aware as a EV fan myself. Okay, can I ask something different? Because I went down, I've been doing a lot of counting. I drove around on 2 or 3 occasions, counted how many cars were outside houses, counted how many spaces, counted how many properties. The properties on the corners, is there parking provision normally, and is there street address normally on the streets or on the avenues?
Properties on the corners. Sorry, which property specifically?
Well, every block has 4 corners, and some properties, or many of them I observe, seem to have their parking allocated on the streets.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, we want to restrict parking near any corners just for sight lines and safety. I would suggest that the way parking has been going to date around the village probably isn't ideal for that.
No.
And that's one thing we actually heard from several of the residents from the first 2 blocks, is they had concerns about making those corners and what those sight lines looked like when they'd come to, for instance, the stop sign at 2nd, and they were trying to cross, and then all of a sudden somebody was coming down the hill. and it was difficult to see around the parked cars. So that's basically part of our design, is trying to pull some of that parking back and create those sight lines for safety.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'll jump in just one sec. There's no consistency between addressing and corners, that nowhere on the island that I know of. But typically what we try to do is to provide their parking on the lower classification of road. So in this case, it would be Penrith, because Penrith is not going to be the thoroughfare. So that's where you're going to try to get the most bang for the buck out
Yeah.
of the corner properties.
Okay. So the way I was looking at, I think by my count, if I count driveways and spaces versus properties, there's third to fourth has 2 spaces per property, which seems fairly consistent with our expectation across our zoning bylaws and across elsewhere. There may be opportunity to squeeze one more in at the 4th Street end, and you guys will work on that. But I still do see it'll be a bit of a reduction. Okay. But last one, last 2. Garbage can placement, especially if we move to a world of automated cart collection. How do you foresee this working with that?
So that's still an evolving process. I mean, if we do end up moving to cart system collection, then that would be coordination with the provider for that. But similar to, the other concepts, if we went to, say, like an angled parking concept, we'd have to move the cans across the street to provide access to the cart-based collection. So it's something similar to that, but there's no clear answer because we don't have a clear direction of how we are doing solid waste in the future. So, but I mean, the current design, it can be accommodating for that. So, I mean, it's something that we've thought of, but it's hard to really nail down if we don't have an idea of what we're going to be doing.
Add to that.
Yeah.
So we actually discussed this extensively within the office, especially with our colleagues down in Victoria, because they do have automated cart collection and they do have a lot of on-street parking. And what we heard from them is they've never even considered it as an issue. They basically just put their cans kind of between the cars out by the edge, and automated cart collection successfully is able to deal with that. It's not ideal. Our original concepts really were trying to establish that boulevard on the one side to be able to facilitate that, but it kind of got trumped by everyone wanting parking on both sides of the road, so it was kind of a lesser of 2 evils situation. We had to pick one to go.
I mean, it should be also noted that cart collection would be, difficult in its current format. So
Yes, I know. Everything's a compromise.
Right.
My final question, construction gets expensive, and it often gets more expensive as you go on. If the design and tenders reveal that there isn't sufficient budget to do what we're seeing here, what elements would we lose first?
yeah, that's a good question. It's one that is difficult to answer right now.
Actually, Corey and I did go look at this the other day. The first thing is there is some existing sidewalk there, so we can start by moving things around a little bit to save the existing sidewalk instead of looking at replacement. There are curbs that we do have it with concrete curbs on every parking spot, which is great for traffic calming, but maybe not 100% necessary if costs are tough. So there are elements that can certainly be reduced and simplified if we have to.
I'd add to that with basically there are very low-hanging fruit pieces we could pull out if we need to, but the ultimate piece to take away from this design, we've narrowed up the road so much from the existing. This is actually significantly cheaper to build than if we were to just go and rebuild what's out there right now. Because
Asphalt is very expensive.
asphalt and road structure are the 2 most expensive things we put down. And we've narrowed that right down as tight as we can. So green space looks pretty. It's also cheap. We're basically leaving a big chunk of the road without any of that engineered structure underneath it. It's going to be topsoil and plantings. Comparatively speaking, it's pennies on the dollar. So.
No, I do really appreciate it. I walk around some of our newer subdivisions and think the amount of investment we've put in to provide on-street parking is
And
huge.
long term too, when you go back and you have to mill and inlay that road in the future, it's exponentially more expensive because now it's 3 times the width. It's just so much more expensive. So it's one of the things that at ISL we're really trying to push right now is really reducing the road width, like really making it efficient, thinking about how much you actually need. Because right now when we're paving property line to property line, it's just throwing money away.
Can I also say, just with any of these projects, right? Like, they would come back to you if you did need to choose options of reducing, and one of your options would be to delay a different project and keep with, like, so definitely would come back before any kind of.
Yeah, there's a note under the financial implications that staff will come back with an update on the cap after the tender goes out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just had one last question. We talked about garbage cans. What about snow? How would a one-way street and
Super fast to plow.
yeah, it's like basically the width of the plow. So where does the snow go?
I mean, again, I would point out that it is not considerably more difficult than what is the current situation. So it has been, consulted with Public Works, and they love the idea of cars being, properly parked and formalized. And long story short, it's not an issue. It's a bit of a consideration on their end, but yeah, it is not really a big change on their end. Operations will be maintained as they currently are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that snow would ultimately end up in the boulevards. You can just push it off over the curb and it would mound up in the boulevard area.
But there's cars parked in between.
Yeah, as there are now, and as there have been for many, many years.
You
Yeah.
may have to cordon off a couple
last one.
spots
Yeah.
One last one.
and
Okay.
use the end spots to store.
I mean, I can remind everybody that we do send out notices prior to plowing to maybe consider where your car is parked on the road and just be mindful of snow clearing operations. It's not mandatory, but just something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll just jump in one more time. We also have budget, every year we bring dump trucks in as well. And like, because the main street, as you can see, has a problem as well. And so we have to put things into dump trucks and take them away and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a quick one before we stop. I don't have much experience with electric cars, but maybe there's like a culvert thing that could go under the sidewalk at some point. That doesn't seem like a crazy scenario to do something like that either.
Yeah, I mean, it has been done. There have been lots of people have tried to come up with lots of different solutions to varying degrees of success. I think ultimately what Vancouver has done with these streets is basically just said people need to, if you have an electric car, you need to park it off the alley and you have to have it in your own space. It's mostly a safety issue, right? Like, we're really trying to keep those cords off the sidewalk, but we want to have that accessible sidewalk. We can't have cars outside the sidewalk, so there is that interface zone. I think if we try and do a culvert, it's going to turn into a place where rodents and stuff end up nesting. You're going to have to try and fish your.
Well, they could have like cool little covers on the end or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're
Just
certainly
spitballing, really. That's
not against trying to come up with some
Yeah.
unique solutions, but the one thing I'd caution is anytime we do anything, even if it should be cheap, if it's a unique, never done before thing, contractors elevate the cost of it quite a bit.
fair.
So even if it is just a 4-inch pipe, they like to charge us a lot of money for them.
Thank you.
Well, and who gets the pipe? And what if you buy an EV next year after the road's built and then you don't have a pipe? Like, yeah, I'm not sure we can accommodate every individual need of every property owner on every street. And I think what we need to do is hear from the people who are living on that last street that didn't get a chance. And then I'm sure you guys have all the skills and expertise to make sure that they are semi-happy with what happens. It's going to be a big change for those blocks for sure. But there's going to be a really nice road and not giant holes in the road anymore, and that will be an improvement through all that change. So thank you for your work, and there's a recommendation there, Council.
Yep. I'll move that council direct staff to continue planning for the 2026 roads and utilities capital works projects to include Penrith Avenue from 1st to 4th Street redesign as set out in the Penrith Avenue Improvements Project drawing, November 2025.
I will second that.
All in favor? And nobody's opposed. That's carried. Thank you so much. Next up is a wastewater project update. Come on up, Jason.
Perfect. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you'll see in your report, I've come just to give you guys an update on where we're at with our wastewater treatment project as a whole. It's been a few months since we've brought this forward to you guys, so I thought I would just check in. So what you're going to see in there is that we have at this point started commissioning some of the equipment at the wastewater treatment facility. So it's a good time to let you know that we've moved into the pre-commissioning phase of our project. At this point, really what we're waiting for is our temporary outfall pipe we're going to be putting in that will go to our current outfall at the wastewater treatment plant. And then that'll allow us to start moving the treated effluent. So hopefully that's going to be there pretty quickly here. But yeah, I created a bit of a slideshow that runs through different aspects of our treatment facility because I wanted to give everybody here and the people at home a chance to kind of see what we've been doing and where we're at. So this is number one, and this is our wastewater treatment facility where it is right now. So I'll let Rachel jump back to start moving through.
It already
Oh,
looks
I got
so
it.
much better.
Perfect.
Look at that. It's beautiful.
All right, so I wanted to start with, this is where we started. So we had a little unit there that pulled out large solids before it went to the lagoons. Effluent went into our small lagoon through those 4 aerators that are mechanical aerators, settled in a large lagoon, and then went into Maple Lake Creek. So that was our previous wastewater treatment facility as a whole. So this is where we are today. That little circle is where that mechanical system was. That's kind of all we had. Now we've got a shop space, an office building, a treatment tent, and a tent that holds our sludge bins. So I'll walk through this kind of piece by piece of how we go from effluent to treated effluent. So it starts with our screen bins. So our current system of pulling solids out is being upgraded to these screen bins, which will pull out significantly more solids from the water before it ever goes into our lagoons. Once it goes in the lagoons, we have subsurface aeration throughout the lagoon system. We have baffle curtains that make sure that effluent is going to follow a serpentine pattern and get fully aerated, which helps the biological treatment process really do the best it can. And that makes sure we don't have a situation with high inflows that anything's going to short circuit and get past our treatment. And I put this one in here. This was a jar test we did with current effluent and testing what chemicals we were going to put into our treatment facility. Jar 1 is where it started. Jar 2, you can see the clear water, and there's some green kind of solids in there. That process is going to happen in here. Our suspended air filtration system will mix those chemicals. It'll blow all those green bits up to the top. It'll skim them off. And this is a picture I took the other day. This becomes the color of the effluent in the first portion of our treatment. All the green pieces go into this bin. It dewaters it, makes it into kind of like a heavy chunk that then is going to go to the landfill, to the compost facility. And that clear water will get further treated in our disc filters. So that's going to filter through cloth membranes to pull out any other impurities we have in that effluent. Once that's done, it's going to go to our UV disinfection, which will disinfect that effluent, and then it's going to head out to the creek from there. So as a kind of check-in on where we're at, this has now been completed and piped as of when I made the slideshow to today. Our SAF unit's been commissioned, and we're just waiting for that kind of exterior pipe to the outfall. Hopefully, in the very near future, we'll be able to start up that equipment and be producing cleaner effluent. So right now, our schedule is still on for the early 2026. We'll have the equipment all started up with the hopes that we are fully within compliance. We have gotten the consent order extended to December of 2026 just as a caution. So that's been approved and is through. So schedule-wise, we're doing great. We've had no concerns. We have no reason to think we're not going to be able to still maintain that. Phase 2 of the project, where we're going to do a reed bed and do some seismic upgrades and a bit of an adjustment to the Maple Lake Creek. That's currently being put through its kind of final design to go to the Ministry for permits. So hopefully we'll get that in here pretty quick. But we have no reason to think that as long as our LWMP gets approved, we should be able to get working on that stuff in next summer and have it done before the end of 2026. Budget-wise, we have used a portion of our contingency that we put aside, but we are very close to the end of phase 1. I have not heard anything to say that we're going to have significant issues with the budget that we have available. We're kind of adjusting. To be honest, we've added a few scope items back in and kind of adjusted a few of the other ones that we have in the program, but I don't see any big concerns there either at this time. I think that's about all I got.
That's really great. Thanks for the update. Questions, Council?
Sure. So refreshing to hear good news about this project. Yeah, this all sounds great. Am I understanding that we are going to be basically using all the new equipment, but piping it back to the old outflow just until the ministry gives us a rubber stamp and then?
Yeah, so the way that our current system works, we can only put effluent into the creek at the current outflow that we have. The only way that we can adjust that is with an approval from the ministry that's going to come through our LWMP to adjust our outflow location to where the reed bed will be. So until we have that final LWMP approval, we have to have that effluent going to the creek at the exact location where it is now. So we're going to have a temporary pipe that we actually have found through surplus they had at the CVRD project that we're going to be buying, and that will be what we'll use for that temporary outfall.
And then we'll sell it on to the next.
The next
We
temporary
can, or see what we
project.
can do with it after, but yeah. That's
Sure,
so,
we have another.
yeah, so we will be having to put temporary piping in until the LWMP is approved.
Okay, and so, yeah, so the sooner we can get that LWMP back, the quicker we can commission this.
Well, we're going to fully commission as is all of the treatment works
Yep.
using this temporary pipe. The pieces that we can't do is phase 2. So we can't do the reed bed or the seismic upgrades. There'd be no reason to until we have that LWMP approved, because we'd be setting up all this beautiful civil work
Yeah.
on the north end of the treatment works while we put the effluent in on the west end.
Yeah.
Or the east end, sorry. So yeah, until we get that approval, there's not much we can do for phase 2. So we're still hopeful we're going to get good news on that in the near future.
And that approval is expected in March of 2026? Why do I have that date in my
I
head?
can't really guarantee anything.
Okay.
They were saying that it was top of mind for the province. They were hopeful that they would have something before the end of this year.
Oh, okay.
But we haven't heard anything yet, so we don't really know. So all we can do is kind of, we've stayed in contact with them as we've done work. I've given them kind of a quick update on where we're at with the project, just trying to kind of maintain relationships there. But we haven't got any formal approval yet. And I really would depend on when they do the review. They don't really bring up with you which portion they're on and how much review they've done. So I don't know if they're 80% through and waiting for the final, or if they haven't looked and there might be some more questions or adjustments they would like us to do. So really we're kind of in a waiting pattern on that one.
Okay, thanks.
So, and just one last question. So what system are we currently using? The old system but with better aeration at the
That's
the
all we're
moment?
doing right now. Right now
Okay.
we are only using the lagoon biological process. We have better aeration. We have more contact time because we do have the baffle curtains in, but it's very limited on what that can do. That's why we're doing this project,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So, you know, the push is really those SAFs, the suspended air filtration. That's the big change. So getting those operational was a huge moment. And as soon as we can make it so that all the effluent's going through those units, the better. And that's what the project team is focusing on right now.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
it's great. Thank you.
No, that.
Very exciting.
Okay, there's a recommendation there, I think? Yeah.
Well, I will.
Just to receive.
I will recommend that council receive the wastewater project update for information.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Second.
Thanks.
Oh, all in favor? We have to vote on that?
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Yep, that's what we do. That's what we do here. Okay, next up is appeal to appear as a delegation to council. Rachel, do you want to speak to this?
Yes. So the question before council in this report is whether to decide whether to accept a delegation request to speak about the daycare facility on Egremont Road. The staff report outlines the position, the staff position that the operation of the Egremont Road daycare is not under the jurisdiction of council, and the staff also outlines how staff arrived at that determination. I want to give a bit of background on that policy about delegations. The policy sets out a number of factors where the corporate officer can either refer a delegation request or deny a delegation request. Often it's if the village has a policy or another procedure like the grant process, we can direct those questions to that process. And also if the matter is not within the jurisdiction of the village, among other things. And I took a quick look at a few municipal procedure bylaws, and it's fairly common policy to have that in place. And I just wanted to make a point that this doesn't prevent individuals to write to council and make requests of council. That happens quite frequently, and we have a process to share those pieces of correspondence with council through your weekly correspondence package, and a process to bring those requests to before a council at a meeting if members so wish. So there are other avenues to bring requests forward. So at this point, staff advice is for council to consider the delegation request at this time and not to consider any other matters related to that request. The decision here is simply whether to approve the request or to deny the request to appear as a delegation.
Thanks so much. Questions, council, comments?
Who wants to go first? Go ahead.
Well, okay, I shall. Yes, I felt it's important over the years that council focus its deliberations and its time and its energy on things that are within our jurisdiction. And to that end, there are many important, for want of a better word, causes, but that's not to trivialize this. There are many important issues that council doesn't have jurisdiction over. In the MOU, if I'm correct, it does reference design and operations in the preamble, I think, but it has no reference in the actual roles and responsibilities. There's no reference at all to ongoing operational involvement. That's not a question. I think that's as good as a statement from me. And so I see that we've taken no role, as I understand, before I was here or since. We've taken no role in this, and we don't do so in similar organizations either. So I really feel that, this is outside our jurisdiction. And the advocacy piece, we can be asked to advocate as I think we often are by correspondence, and any one of us can choose to pull that correspondence into a council meeting.
Thank you. And I will just say that we have done some advocacy for inclusive daycare spaces to the minister based on a funding application from the Child Development. I'm going to get their name wrong because I just know the acronym, CVCDA. And we would continue that advocacy because we understand that there is a desperate need for those spaces. Anybody else?
No, I also feel that this doesn't fall under the purview of council, fortunately.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation. As much as I want to hear from our residents on important issues, again, we will not be able to act on a delegation in any way. So,
yeah, I think it's when we look at these decisions, or particularly an appeal like this, we need to think about the implications of hearing from people. And we have a relationship with the school district, which is outside of this, and I understand they have had a process. They are responsible for the contract, and they are responsible for the building. And so there's really, it's not within our power to do anything except listen to this resident, which we can do outside of this process, I think. There's a recommendation there. Anyone's willing?
Yeah, it's an option.
I'll move the council deny this request for delegation to council.
Have a seconder?
second.
All in favor? Thank you, that's carried. Next up is Cumberland Lake Park, proposed extension of operating season. Who's gonna, you're gonna speak to it? Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm speaking for Kevin. He's written the report. He is not here. At the last council meeting, you heard from the Lake Park Society when they presented their annual report to you, and through that process, they also have made a request to the village to extend their season on both shoulders of the season. So about 6 weeks in total, starting in March and April, and then whereas right now they start in May, and then ending in October, November, and right now they stop in September. They would, use the type of sites that work well with cooler months, the RV sites, sleeping barrel accommodations, and some of the select tent sites. Obviously, I think that would work for that type of weather.
Yeah.
We have worked out the operational implications. How would this work for the public works, being able to work through with the water supply out there and that kind of stuff, and there is no challenges there that we've been told. And so at this point, staff is recommending a 1-year kind of pilot, almost like extended, and then we can look at how that works out, but we kind of expect it to work out. So, but it's worth doing as a 1 year and then reviewing, because you never know what might come out of that.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we're recommending. Is,
Awesome. Questions, comments?
Yay.
Blue.
Yeah. Yeah. Ditto.
I'll move that council approve an up to 12-week extension to the Cumberland Lake Park operating season, and that council direct staff to draft an amendment agreement to the existing Cumberland Lake Park operating agreement with LPS to formalize approval, and that council authorize the mayor and the CAO to execute the amendment.
Second.
All in favor of that? Thank you, and thanks to LPS staff for taking on a couple extra months.
Sleeping barrels in March?
Right, in the rain, so good. Council member monthly reports are up next. If there are no questions, there is a motion there to receive.
I'll move that we receive reports for November.
All in favor? That's carried. And next up is municipal ticket information bylaw amendment. You're Courtney, not Chris.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be presenting this report for Chris. So the purpose of the report is to present a proposed amendment to the village's municipal ticket information bylaw following adoption of the new business licensing and regulation bylaw number 1239/2025, which was recently adopted by Council. The reason the MTI bylaw needs to be updated is because the references in the current MTI bylaw are to the old business license bylaw. The new business license bylaw has been reorganized, so section references are different, and there also are some new categories of ticketable offenses that need to be referenced in the MTI bylaw. The community charter gives municipalities the bylaw enforcement options of prosecuting of offenses under the Offense Act through court proceedings, bylaw notices under the Local Government Bylaw Notice Enforcement Act, court action through civil proceedings, and ticketing for bylaw offenses. The village has a ticketing bylaw, the MTI bylaw 1053, that authorizes bylaw enforcement officers to issue tickets. The bylaw designates staff positions who are authorized to issue the tickets, sets fines for amounts, and can establish different fine amounts depending on when the fine is paid, i.e. a lower amount for an early pay. The proposed amendment to the MTI bylaw adds the license inspector as a bylaw enforcement officer designated in Schedule A, that's business license inspector. And this amendment bylaw also updates Schedule C that sets out the fines related to the new business licensing bylaw. Fines are meant to create a deterrence from violating the terms of the bylaw. The fine increases have been the fine amounts have been increased from the 2009 bylaw while still remaining relatively low. When a situation arises where a person is profiting from an activity prohibited by the bylaw, it's possible that the fine amounts of an MTI bylaw would not effectively deter an activity. They're quite low. And in these cases, it may be necessary to escalate to the Offense Act. And the amendment bylaw also includes a housekeeping correction related to the water conservation bylaw. And you have a recommendation before you to give first, second, and third reading to the Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw number 1244/2025.
Thanks, Courtney. Questions, Council?
Just ask, what is failure to hold insurance carnival? It's very specific.
Yeah, that's something new in there's a few new things in the business license bylaw that were recommended by a consultant who helped us prepare it, that were like nothing we've really ever thought would be relevant to Cumberland before, but it's kind of like future-proofing the bylaw. So that, in fact, there is a business license category related to carnival and the insurance requirements.
I feel like we could totally have a carnival.
Totally.
So now that it's in the bylaw, someone could hold a carnival if they wanted. Okay, there's yes.
One last, my understanding, this is mostly housekeeping in nature. The changes that we've made, just to reference,
Yes.
for the future, when these sort of things are brought forth, can we get a red line copy, just so that we can quickly
See
go,
the
okay,
difference.
this has changed, and
Yeah.
just in the future, and it makes it easier than trying to go and look up the old one and see what.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Yeah.
And in the absence of that red line copy, it's only changes to the Schedule C. There's also a Schedule C in the current business license bylaw, which you can kind of hold side by side.
Yeah.
And see the differences, and then to add the license inspector as to who can issue tickets.
Yeah, okay, appreciate
you.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll give first, second, and third reading to Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw number 1244/2025.
Second.
All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Next up is Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw. Hello, Annie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, let me go back to my notes. So this report is to provide council the revenue anticipation bylaw for the year 2026 for council consideration of first, second, and third reading. This bylaw is set up annually in order to maintain the credit line available, as the taxes are not collected until later in the year once the tax notices are issued, usually till around the end of May, with a due date of July. So this allows us to go in the indicative if ever needed. And to do so, the village should have borrowing available for necessary cash requirement until July 2nd. But this is really just a precaution, and in any use of this type of borrowing is very unlikely, except in the event of an emergency. And based on the calculation and regulation included in the charter, the village could borrow up to 7.3 million, which would be the maximum allowed for 2026, although staff recommends an amount of 3 million, which was the same as previous years. And currently the line of credit for the village is set at 2 million. So we could go, and that would allow us to go and request an additional $1 million if ever needed. So we are now requesting, staff is expecting council to provide first, second, and third reading to the 2026 anticipation revenue bylaw.
Thank you. Questions?
Straightforward.
There's a recommendation there.
I'll move that council give first, second, and third reading of a revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 1251/2025.
Second.
All in favor, and hoping we don't have to use it. Thank you.
Correct.
Next up is the 2025-2029 financial plan amendment. Bylaw number 2.
All right. So this report now presents the amendment to the 2025 to 2029 financial plan to request that council consider first, second, and third reading to the amendment bylaw. So council already adopted previous amendment for the first half of 2025 to the original financial plan. I think that's been done earlier in July. Now this amendment bylaw is to consider an amendment to the plan for the second half of the year. And attachment 2 provides a list of all the budget amendment already approved by council through resolution during the second half of the year. And now there's a few budget amendments that are recommended by staff. We have the wastewater plan. So staff recommend adjusting the funding to accounts for the DCC revenues. I think this was already approved as a council resolution, fully funded by the Water Stabilization Reserve. So now we recommend that 49% of that be funded through DCCs and the remaining from the Water Stabilization Reserve. We also have here the CRA furnace building roof repair to increase the funding from the General Municipal Facility Asset Renewal Reserve from the $5,000 already approved in the 2025 budget to the $9,500 required to complete the work. There's also some additional revenue from the Royston water cells due to a rate correction for 2024 that we recommend to be transferred to the Water Stabilization Reserve, just under $43,000. And then we also recommend to include the impact of the 3-year collective agreement settlement for the year 2025, which is just over $91,000. And then there's also some amendments to allocate some of the contingency fund. So an amount of $40,000 is already included in the budget for general contingency. We also have a $10,000 in the water fund and another $10,000 in the sewer fund. So staff recommend allocating some of the contingency to 6 different items listed in the report. And those items were mostly emergencies that have to be dealt with quickly with fairly low dollar value. those are always reviewed by and approved by the CAO. And there is no impact again on the budget as those are already approved. The contingency amount are already approved in the budget. So it's really just to reallocate the funds. And finally, budget amendment to include 2 grants that were approved again in the second half of the year. So we have $4,750 for the Heritage Legacy Fund, and there's also $6,300 for ICBC Road Improvement Program, and this is going to go towards the Crossrock upgrade at Dunsmuir Avenue in front of the Cumberland Recreation Center. And yeah, so at this point, Council may request further information, and we recommend proceeding to first, second, and third reading. Any question?
Thank you. Questions?
This was some money we've already spent.
They were decisions we already made.
Yep.
So there's a recommendation there.
I'll move the council give first, second, and third reading to the 2025-2029 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1252, 2025.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor? That's carried unanimously. And next up is 2026-2030 Financial Plan Bylaw, second and third reading.
So again, this report is to provide Council the 2026-2030 Financial Plan Bylaw for consideration of second and third reading. So Council already gave first reading on November 24th, and staff did not receive any more comments or question about the financial plan. So Council may at this point still has a chance to make a change to the financial plan, or can just go ahead and proceed with second and third reading.
Thank you. Council?
I'm happy to go ahead and I'll move that council give second and third reading to the 2026-2030 Financial Plan Bylaw number 1243, 2025.
Okay, and next up is
No,
waters. Oh, sorry.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
We'll do that and this.
And then we vote. That's good. Thank you. Don't know why I want to go so fast today. So next up is water service frontage tax amendment, 1245, 2025.
Yeah, there's no report
We're just
for
gonna
the
roll through.
next.
Right.
Yep.
I'll move the council adopt the Water Service Frontage Tax Amendment Bylaw 1245, 2025.
Second.
Voting again. All in favor, thank you. And sewer service frontage tax.
I will move that Council adopt the Sewer Service Frontage Tax Amendment Bylaw 1246, 2025.
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor, that's carried. And stormwater frontage tax amendment.
Go ahead.
I'll move the council adopt the Stormwater Frontage Tax Amendment Bylaw 1247, 2025.
Second.
All in favor of that one, that's carried. And solid waste collection fees amendment bylaw.
I'll move that council adopt the Solid Waste Collection Fees Amendment Bylaw 1248, 2025.
Second.
All in
Sec-
favor? That's carried as well. Water rates amendment bylaw.
Oh.
It's your turn, Nick.
I will move that Council adopt the Water Rates Amendment Bylaw 1249, 2025.
That's it.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? We've got this.
We
And
know.
finally, sanitary sewer rates amendment bylaw.
Okay, I'll move that council adopt the Sanitary Sewer Rates Amendment Bylaw 1250, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? That one's carried too. Thank you. The next up is notices, motions, and appointments. Please do check the village website before you come to these meetings so that you can ensure that they are correct. We have the public hearing for the official community plan set for December 15th at 5:30 p.m. here in the Cultural Center. Question period. And zoning bylaw at that same public hearing.
Double whammy.
Be there, for sure. Okay, questions? Anybody? Do you mind coming to the mic so people You can sit or whatever you're comfortable with. Oh, hi. So that is a result of our master transportation plan. So there are different road designs depending on the neighborhood use, the community use, I don't know, all the other things that go into designing roads, which I'm not an expert of. And what we heard from the engagement was that sidewalks on both sides were really important to people. For accessibility issues. So I understand they take a lot of space and they're also very expensive to build, but that's what we heard. Yeah. I don't know if you want to add anything, Joel, to that.
Yeah, so there's a couple different considerations. Is it on? There we go.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so through the transportation master planning engagement process, we heard that like active transportation in the sense of like more sidewalks, more accessible sidewalks is something that was a general want across the village. But also, so Penrith on these 3 blocks is actually kind of not unique, but it's interesting in the fact that like one block is dual sidewalk, one block is one. The last block doesn't. It sort of tapered off as it was being built. Just through my own research here at the village, I think there was a report from a consultant back in the early 70s talking about how that sidewalk network needed to be connected. So like going all the way back those years, there was a want and desire to connect the system, but just for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. So in some blocks, there are dual sidewalks, some only one, some none, but the intent that we provide sort of a safe walking space for people in these residential areas was always there. And so through that transportation master planning process, we heard even more so that like it's still there and still wanted. So that's why we focus such an effort to try to not just design for vehicle-based infrastructure, but include opportunities for people to walk, roll, and cycle in a safe and efficient manner. So, thank you.
Thanks.
So that sort of brings me on to my second question, which is around improvements to public transit and cycling infrastructure connecting us to the rest of the valley and within the village, because my partner, we recently had to buy a new car, and so for a short while she was cycling to work in Courtenay at Vanier Secondary. And in order to get there safely, she has to go a very long way round, all the way down to Royston and then all the way across. And once you get into Courtenay, there's pretty decent infrastructure, and whilst you're within Cumberland, there's decent infrastructure, but the connection in between is very much missing. So, yeah, could the council sort of provide an update on where we are with that and if there's anything happening?
Cycling infrastructure is incredibly expensive. It's much more expensive when the Ministry of Transportation is involved. So the connector is a Ministry of Transportation road, and so the price tag that was worked out through the CVRD, there was a plan that came forward to the CVRD board to build a safe off-road route into Courtenay, but the price tag was prohibitive. So just the piece on the connector was $14 million, and so that really can suck a lot of the air out of the room, and that did not get supported at the board. This council is committed to finding a safe route to Courtenay, but it's going to take us a lot longer than what we thought. We thought we could go off-road. We thought we could put a barrier down. We've tried several different approaches with the Ministry of Transportation, and they were not open to any of them. So we are still working on that. And we also have a major active transportation grant in right now, which who knows whether that funding will continue. I believe it's a federal provincial partnership grant. So hopefully that money is still flowing, and potentially we could get it, and that would help us just get to the connector. We can also do some advocacy with the ministry to clean the easements on the side of the road on the connector to make it feel safer to get off that road, off the lane anyway. And do some line painting or whatever. We're looking at all the ways we can improve that route, but that connector is a barrier, let's say. I had worse words. Thank you for the questions, and thanks for being here. Anybody else?
First of all, I apologize for being loud outside.
That's okay. It was fine. The kids are also loud downstairs. We can't hear you over the karate.
It's Scottish in me. I get kind of excited, and I'm really apologize for that. I just want to know what is designated a driveway. Now, I live on 2751 Penrith Avenue, what we call Facet Road. When we originally built the property, we were in touch with the Trust Council, and they actually, in order to have parking in front of my house, it was a big ordeal. They wanted $4,000, which was interesting. They were starting to charge for something. Anyway, so it all went this way and that way. What we came up with as an agreement is if I gravel all the way up to the front of my house, I could park in front of my house straight on, and it would be considered a driveway. Basically, from what these lot lines are, doesn't look like that, but from where I can see, well, my neighbor's fence, I can park within those limits. So what is designated a driveway? How can do I have to pour concrete? Do I have to pave it? Do I have to, because those 3 parking spots in front of my house are crucial. 1, I've got a renter downstairs. 2, I have my own vehicle. 3, I have a utility trailer that I sometimes have to bring home. Where am I going to park this trailer if you guys have now made the street basically public parking, not private?
Yeah.
It's public. Anybody, Dunsmuir, going to lunch, going to dinner, anybody can park there. Where am I going to do that? Where am I going to park my dually Ford pickup truck with its dump truck, or, you know, the dually dump bed? Where am I going to park that? I only take up my 3 spots, but I kind of really need those, and I got 1.
So to clarify, I hear your concern, but the place where you're parking your vehicles on the street is not your property.
But no, I'm parking right in front of my house.
If you're parking on your private property, not on the easement on the street, then you shouldn't have any problem because you can park on your own private property. If you're parking in the easement, or if part of your vehicle is in the easement, then that's a different thing.
Okay, but how
so
do
I
we
think
designate it as an actual driveway to the fellows that are designing it?
Can I just jump in and just say, you know, staff is working with this gentleman, and it might be a bit of a complicated history. So I do think it should stay at this point with staff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Oh.
Those, it's okay. Those details, I think you need to go to staff for. That was not this council that gave you those parking spots. I'm not sure where those parking spots are. We don't typically give out parking. What we do.
That's why we gravel to the front of the house so that we could
I
actually
understand.
park in front of our.
I understand.
Much like everybody else, but we're not on the easement. So how does a driveway be designated?
I think that's a question for staff who are in conversation with you, and you'll have to work that out. I don't know you the specifics of your property.
That I was just talking to?
Yes, Joel. Joel. Sitting behind you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know, like I said, we discussed the trees, the lawn. who's going to take care of the green space? That's a biggie.
The boulevards in front of your house, as we heard in the presentation, are the responsibility of the homeowner. So you can do whatever you like with that.
So we can garden them, turn up the turf.
I
put
don't know that.
garden in there?
I
Is
think
that
these
like
are, I think these are,
Victoria, that's what they're doing now. They're
Yeah.
turning them all into vegetable gardens and things like that in that space.
yeah,
Is that
I'm
a
not sure I would
possibility?
do that. I don't know at this point whether that's a possibility. We don't, council doesn't direct what happens on boulevards typically.
Okay.
We have, larger policies that would maybe have implications, but I can't think of anything right now.
Just because the sidewalk, the way the sidewalk is, the green space is basically on Cumberland property, is it not? Or is it on
The
ours?
sidewalk would be on public property, on village
Right,
property,
and
yeah.
then the green space is outside of that towards the parking space. So that
Yes.
would basically be your responsibility to keep, not the homeowners.
As I have said, and as you heard in the presentation, I believe boulevards are the responsibility of the homeowner.
Okay.
Again, you can discuss that with staff or
Yeah,
get
no.
clarification if I'm wrong.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify and just wanted to know what a driveway was.
Yeah.
If I have to pour concrete to make it an actual driveway, then I will, because I really kind of need that area to park my vehicles.
I don't think whether or not it's got concrete is the question. I don't think council wants to see people paving their front yards in order to
Neither
park
do I.
there.
I like the gravel myself, but
So I think if you work with the team, they'll find the best way forward for all of us.
okay. I think
Yeah.
you'll find there's other people out there too as well with larger vehicles.
This is why I asked the question, first question. That was my question. So you
'Kay.
definitely need to work with staff is what's next.
Yes, I will work with staff on that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
No problem.
Have a good day.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for the question. Next.
Hi, so my name's Andrea Travail, and I live at 2753 Penrith as well with Ollie. So, like, I can see that a lot of planning has gone into this, and obviously we weren't involved in that planning stage. And, you know, I understand that you want this to be a cohesive street and a cohesive design. And I see that our block between 3rd and 4th was only included when it decided that it was going to be a one-way street. And I completely support that and the narrowing of the street and everything. But I feel just applying the design that, you've consulted blocks, from 1st to 3rd Street on to our street isn't particularly fair because they already have the existing sidewalks. And so, that is the infrastructure that is already there for them. And so, those who have got an EV are already charging across the sidewalk. Okay, but we're different. We don't have an existing sidewalk. A lot of us don't have a front yard because we choose to park our cars right up against our houses. And yes, we overlap onto the boulevard, but that allows us to fit quite a lot of parking in, and a lot more parking than is on the plans, on the street parking. And so I'm just wondering if we could work together to relocate the sidewalk, because I'm in favor of having a sidewalk. But I feel that by running it in between the property line and then a median and then parallel parking, etc., is a lot of change to us. Like we've all, like Greg was talking about, we all have agreements with our parking. Like with our property, our parking space is directly in front of our house and it is off our property, but it's difficult to get there, and we won't be able to get there if there is parallel parking in front of it. So I'm just wondering if we can stick with this cohesive design of having that one-way street and a narrow road, but bring that sidewalk inwards so that it's on the side of the road, and so that we could have a roll curve like you do have on Maryport, and then we can still cross that and park. Because for those of us who don't have a front yard and park right up to our house, we would then have plenty of room to continue to do that, and we could then continue to charge EVs safely without all the cables going everywhere. So I'm just wondering if we can come up with something like that.
Yeah, so the engagement process is open until February, so you've got 2 months now still. Well, let's not say 2 months, it's Christmas, a month. So you have a month to submit any comments. It's on the CVRD's engagement website, which is also on our website. There should be a link there. And you can also, if you can't get there, you can email info@cumberland.ca. And I think the team that you saw present here would be open to hearing from that block, just like they were open to hearing from the other 2 blocks. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I appreciate that your block didn't make it into that consideration, but what we heard immediately after finishing that consultation was, well, you should have extended it down to our block too. So then, so that's now what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's complicated because it is going to be a big change for that street, so I understand. And please, yeah, put your
Okay.
input in as you can, and hopefully the team can find a way to make that work. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the question. Any online?
I think this is Penrith as well. Could the planting on Penrith instead of lawn plant clover?
That's a great question and a great suggestion. Maybe email that or go to the Engage website, which is on, there's a link on our website to the engagement website for Penrith, and put that idea in there. Or you can email info@cumberland.ca.
Has insurance been checked about the EV cords?
No, we just heard that today, so we have not checked with our insurance providers yet.
Are there changes in the lagoon system, as there are changes in the lagoon system, and that the swamp area is part of the EcoGIF lands? Was permission received from EcoGIF Canada?
That's beyond my pay grade. I didn't realize that was EcoGIF land.
Yeah,
At
a
this
full
one.
process has taken place and all permissions have been sought. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. If that's all the questions in the audience, I see an audience member who has not asked a question. Do you have a question, sir? Okay. Then we will move to closed.
I'll move the
If
council
somebody
close
wants
the
to-
meeting to the public pursuant to Section 90 of the Community Charter to consider labor relations or other employee relations.
A second.
All in favor of that?